In the past year, I have saved and theoretically made more money than I've ever made in my entire career working. And today I want to tell you how you can make more money year after year without necessarily working harder or working longer. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Sumi. I'm a life coach. I work with a lot of people in different areas of life. If you haven't ever seen me before, connect with me down in the links below on my Instagram, on my TikTok, on all my other platforms. And if you ever want to work with me, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. Tell me your situation. Tell me the area in life that you want to grow in. And definitely like, subscribe for the algorithm. Hit that bell notification to stay on top of all my videos. And let's jump into today's episode. Most people make the same amount of money every single year. They go to their job, they work, and they theoretically maintain their lifestyle. And maybe they save a little bit of money every single year. They have a 401k, they have a retirement plan, and they're able to kind of put money aside for them to one day retire and just, live life. And I think that that's actually miserable. And I'm going to come off very harsh in this video, but most people just look at money the wrong way. Kevin O'Leary once said on Shark Tank that money is like a soldier to him. He sends it out to war and expects it to bring him prisoners back. And I always found that very interesting. It was a great way to talk about how compound interest works. Money can make you more money, and most people don't understand that that is actually a real scenario. When you save $1, you don't just save $1. You've theoretically made $1 by not spending it on something that may not be good for you, but more than anything else, you get the potential interest that this money can get you. So a lot of people in life will spend money on things that are depreciating assets. Everything that you realistically have in life, the majority of things are depreciating assets. There are very few things that are actually investments. And I would say that we spend less than 1 to 5% of our money on investments. Most people in life spend money on things that are genuinely just going to make them emotionally better. And one can argue that spending money on certain things could be an investment. Like your car is an investment in theory because it gets you to work and back. And Grant Cardone said it where his car is an investment because it brings him to work. This laptop could be an investment because it allows me to film content and do work. But at the end of the day, they're theoretically depreciating assets. But one thing that is a true investment, a raw investment that can always make you money is if you invest your money into something very conservative that's almost guaranteed in the stock market that allows you to compound wealth over and over again. Most people don't understand that compound interest is probably the most powerful way to really grow your retirement and your financial portfolio. But what compound interest really relies on is you constantly adding more money in and having a large foundation for you to compound on. I make a good amount of money every single year, but I theoretically only live on about 8 to 10% of my income. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I make a healthy level of income, but I also significantly live below my means. Everything that I have that you see on social media, it is very, very controlled. It is very, very restricted. It is something that I have bought in a sense where I can easily let it go and it wouldn't hurt me financially. Now, I've also restricted my money artificially. Every 10 years of my life, I typically increase the amount of money that I can spend. Now, I've only went through one cycle of this from my 20s to 30s, but when I hit 30, I started to increase the amount of money that I could spend. And I increased it to something a little bit over 10% of my income. So when I'm 40, I'll start to spend more, and when I'm 50, I'll start to spend more. But theoretically, what happens is, because I'm saving such a large portion of my income, and because I'm making a good amount of money, I'm able to constantly increase the level of money that I'm compounding every single year. In the last year alone, I have made more money than I've ever made before, but more importantly, I have saved so much money up until this point that my compound interest, my interest on what I have saved up is actually much larger than all the income I've made in my entire life. And what's funny is that most people don't understand how long you have to wait for compound interest to work, but they also underestimate how powerful it is when it actually can work. One of my goals I'm going to share with you right now in this video is to save up $100 million. You might say, Sumi, that's very ambitious. You're never going to get there. I'm actually well on my way right now. So when I get to $100 million, if I just have a 4%, 5% investment that can guarantee me that with a bank, with some larger financial institution, that there's investments like that exist where you can guarantee that low interest rate, I can make $4 to $5 million a year guaranteed. And that is very powerful. If you have a large pool of money, if you have a large amount of money, you can invest it very conservatively and make a lot of money with that. Now, a portion of my investments are aggressively invested, but the large majority of it is very, very conservative. And most people underestimate how much saving can really do for you. One of the managing partners of an insurance company I used to work for, his name was Tommy Vina. He told me that if you save $3 to $4 million a year, and you have a 4% rate of interest, that's around $120,000 to $160,000 every single year, which is a very healthy amount of money for you to take care of your bills. Somebody that has $150,000 every single year on their bills is going to live a generalistically good quality of life. That's a lot of money here in Cleveland, Ohio. Now in Miami, it's not so crazy, but you can still live a normal life and you can still pay your bills and you can still eat every day and so on and so forth. So I think that's an excellent target. And most people will say, how can I make $3 to $4 million? Well, you don't necessarily have to make $3 to $4 million. You can start saving maybe $80K, $50K, $100K, whatever it might be, every single year until you get to a point after 20 to 30 years that you have that money saved up, and that is your retirement plan, where you have that 4% interest that's really going to take care of you. And that may be very hard for some people, but I would also encourage you to understand this. You need to live below your means. You need to stop spending your money so aggressively. You need to understand that every single dollar that you spend is not only dollar that is going to waste, but it's the potential interest that you potentially lose on that you're just throwing away. When you spend $100,000 on anything, let's say it's a car, let's say it's on a house, you're losing the future of that investment. A lot of people talk about a house as an investment. A lot of people talk about many things as an investment. But the best investment that I have seen over and over again that really has created a large amount of wealth is finance and is stocks and is conservative investments that are leveraged over time. And I know that's going to upset a lot of investors out there, a lot of real estate guys. A lot of these guys that do real estate, a lot of these guys that do different types of investments, that's active income. That's actively managed portfolios. Maybe you're paying someone to manage it for you, or maybe you are managing things. When you do real estate, it's never just buy a property and just sit and just wait. It's never like that unless you're really into land, and even that land can go backwards. It really comes down to you managing it, structuring it, remodeling it, so on and so forth. Real estate is not an industry where you can just sit back and relax. But there are some people that have it very well managed. They have a system in place, and that's wonderful. But I'm talking about something that you can just put your money into and just completely walk away. I'm not necessarily going to recommend exactly what it is because I don't want to get flagged for not being a financial advisor, but I personally put my money in VU. I put my money in CDs. I put my money into something that's very conservative, and I manage my portfolio myself to where I know that it's going to do and perform at about 8 to 10% every single year. Now that is very good. And comparatively to a lot of hedge fund and investment firms, that is, pretty much the market average. I don't try to be too aggressive. I really try to be aggressive in my savings. If I can just save more money, I theoretically make more money by investing it and allowing it to compound. So my golden rule in life is to live below your means. Now, I want to break that down a little bit. This means driving a very regular car. I still drive my 2008 Acura all the time. Now, yes, I do drive my G-Wagon sometimes. I do drive my Lexus sometimes. I drive other cars at different times, but for the most part, I love driving my Acura. I love putting miles on my Acura because it's a beater. It's a very good car, and it's more than anything going to not cost me a lot of money. Another thing is living below your means in terms of the place you live. I have this penthouse here, and you might say, wow, assuming this is really expensive. For me, it's not. For how much I make, it's not very flashy and it's not very expensive. I can go out and go buy a giant mansion. Not that I'm the richest person in the world. It's just not something that's going to make sense for me. And another thing is, I look at things that I can afford in a different way. I was out in Miami, and there was a club, and the cover fee was $200. And I said, I don't think I can afford that. Now, yes, I have $200 in my bank account, but I could not stomach the idea of paying $200 to just go into a club that I have no idea about. And personally, between you and me, I'm not really interested in going to the club. I had some friends in town. I didn't really want to do it. But the big thing I want you to understand is that is something that I can't afford. I can't afford a $20 cup of coffee. There's certain things that you have to just understand that would hurt you in a financial sense. I don't buy things that hurt me in a financial sense. Even when I spend a lot of money on my business, I know that it's going to make me money so it doesn't hurt me. But if I were to go buy a $3 million car right now, which I could theoretically do, I couldn't afford it. Even though I may have the money, it wouldn't make sense to me unless that car is an appreciating investment, which rarely is going to happen with vehicles. Unless you buy very specialty, rare, exotic vehicles that appreciate in price, that's a whole different topic. Another thing I want to talk about is eating out. Almost always a scam. Eating out at nice restaurants is almost always never, ever, ever, ever good. Like, it literally is the biggest money pit in the world. We think that eating out and going out to eat is very good. First off, the food is not healthy, okay? It's buttered up. Any restaurant that's gonna have really good food, it's not gonna be healthy. More than anything else, you're gonna have to wait for someone to serve you. The ambiance might be wrong. It just might be, that you don't like the food. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. And last but not least, it is significantly more expensive than eating at home. It is significantly more expensive. You guys have no idea how much of a markup restaurants have. I'm talking well over 300, 400%. So you're paying a significant amount of money to go eat food that you could cook at home that's healthier, that's better, and that theoretically can be done quicker than going out, valeting your car, waiting for your reservation, going to your table, waiting for the server to come back, bring you the food, then waiting to cash out, so on and so forth. I think it's much better to eat at home, and I think it's more convenient. My big thing I want you to understand here is, with all these themes, cut back on your life. From your vehicles, to going out, to where you live, to eating out, and to maybe even certain subscriptions and certain luxuries that you have. Even when it comes to clothes, this shirt is not very expensive. This watch, people tell me, oh, you should buy an AP, you should buy something nice. My Apple Watch does a great job, and it tells time better, and it has more features than any of those watches. Why would I spend that kind of money? It doesn't make sense a lot of times, guys. And I say this with a lot of love. It's better to save your money, it's better to build your finances, and it's better to use that money down the road that is guaranteed to be passive, because the money that I make on my investments is passive. That is where you're really going to win. Every dollar you save is a dollar not only saved, but a potential interest made. And if you do this enough, you can make more money and you can save more money to where you don't have to work anymore. You're done. You're home at 3 o'clock. Your active income becomes optional and your passive income becomes guaranteed. And that is where I really want you all to be. When you get to a point when you're older, you can't just go crank out a 12-hour shift. You need to rely on the investments and the money that you have. And doing it in a safe, secure way that's very conservative, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, is going to be a lot better for you. I hope this video made sense. If you have any questions on this, feel free to message me on Instagram. I would love to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Until next time, guys, Sumi out.